Welcome back to this episode of Uncover the Human. We are joined today with our guest, Lyn Wineman. Welcome to the podcast, Lyn.
Hey, guys. I am really looking forward to this fun conversation. It will be fun, right? You're not going to put me on the hot seat and grill me and make me feel sad or cry. Do you ever make people cry on your podcast?
Not yet, but there's a new challenge.
All right. We'll see.
We'll see what we can do for this one.
We have yet to create a hot seat, but that'll be up on the next.
All right.
There's usually lots of laughter.
Warmer in my car, so I could go replicate that when we're done.
I do have people cry in my coaching sessions, but not on the podcast yet.
All right. I'm not a crier, so we'll see.
We'll stick to laughing.
All right. Better.
So, Lyn, you founded a company called KidGlov, which you just told us is newly a B Corp certified in Nebraska, which is incredible. So first of all, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And secondly, let's talk a little bit about KidGlov. What is it? What does it do? What's your philosophy for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So KidGlov is a full service boutique advertising agency. And what that means is we do pretty much everything under the marketing umbrella, but we're small. We're small enough that we can really take care of people, right? And our purpose statement is that we put a megaphone in front of those who are doing good in the world. So we really intentionally go after clients who are nonprofits, healthcare organizations, social impact movements, and purpose-driven businesses. And that's really awesome for our culture because our people come to work every day knowing that the work that they do is impacting humans, hopefully in a very positive way, which is really fun. Our brand, KidGlov, was very, very intentionally created to differentiate us from other advertising agencies. I don't know if your listeners are, in that advertising or marketing world, but it's been referred to as a hyper-competitive industry, which then in turn does lead to very frequently toxic cultures, right? I kind of came up through a mid-sized Midwestern-based agency that handled national clients. And a lot of what I did was try to, as positively as possible, convince people to work nights and weekends, right? Like, wouldn't this be fun? Let's bring in pizza. I've got a bottle of scotch in my filing cabinet. I'll give you movie tickets. My daughter even actually refers to growing up in the conference room in that agency because she thought that all kids went and watched cartoons and drew on the marker board on Saturday mornings in the office conference room. So KidGlov is all based on that statement of treating people with kid gloves. So that extends to the people who work for us. It extends to the people that we work for, very thoughtfully putting together their brands, their campaigns, their strategies, but then also for our people, very thoughtfully building our culture to make it the kind of place where people want to work.
Very much needed everywhere.
Yes.
I tell you what, it makes it a lot more fun, right? As a founder, you pour your heart and soul into this, and it's not very rewarding to come into an office where people act like it's drudgery, right? Like I'm an enthusiastic person, and I like to work with other people who are enthusiastic as well.
Yeah.
You don't think the way to get there is by crushing them slowly?
Yeah, right.
Yelling at them.
Meetings will continue until you're all happy. Yeah, no, soul crushing is, I have to admit, I have had my moments where I've gone on tirades, and something I'm really working on as a leader. But no, soul crushing is not one of our core values.
I kind of wish that some companies would put that as their core values when that's what they actually do in action, because it would make the whole recruiting process a lot easier if you were just not lied to.
Right.
I think core values, and then you go to meetings and you're just raked over coals. And I'm like,
I think there are
okay.
some code words though, right? Like hustle. And I think
Yes.
there are some code words that people are getting somewhat savvy, and looking out for. Oh, I bet that means
Yeah.
soul crushing.
It says things like, we'll get the job done at any cost. Like, okay, well, that's one of those
Yeah.
costs. First up is going to be the people.
That'll be soul crushing.
And I'm going to tell you, sometimes people think when I describe that to people, sometimes they think, oh, that means you guys are soft. And, we're not soft. We're not soft at all. Like my folks, I talk about having fire in the belly. Like my folks really, they care about the work. They care about the clients. But they do that because they want to, right? And they do that because we create a culture where they can do that. So I would say we're anything but soft, but you can have that balance.
Yeah. Well, and I bet they go above and beyond voluntarily and with all their hearts and souls because of that, as opposed to hiding problems, doing just the minimum, smiling and nodding and then doing the opposite, resisting change, all the fun things that happen.
I love it when people break out into laughter and song. As a matter of fact, I have been on Zoom calls all day today, which means I'm in my office with the door closed. And earlier I got off a Zoom call and I could hear laughing and I opened my door and I'm like, I love the murmur of laughter happening, even though I'm in my office intensely on Zoom calls. Like that just makes me very happy.
It's a great indication that the culture is definitely on the right track.
Yeah.
I think some people miss too, and they interpret things as soft or too easy. If you're trying to be good to your people, they consider it soft. Like, no, this is how you get to better results and you enjoy doing it. Like, why would you not want both of these things? It's always
Alex,
confusing.
I'm really glad you said that because I feel like I am mature enough that I started my career in the 80s and the 90s when there weren't a lot of women in advertising. And the particular office that I worked in, there were not a lot of women, particularly in leadership. And I feel like I was taught that you have to be tough. You have to be tough. You have to be strict. Don't let anybody take advantage of you. Don't let anyone think you're soft. Like, it's kind of funny, as I was saying that earlier. Why do I think soft is a bad word? But it typically is in business. And I kind of feel like even though our KidGlov culture has been built on that and we've focused on it for the last decade, I feel like I'm a recovering tough girl, and, learning to kind of proudly share my viewpoint amongst my peers, even my peers who are men who I may have been hesitant to share that with in the past because I felt like maybe they wouldn't respect me. And I love that the world has changed enough that those things have become in fashion.
Yes. And hopefully they stick around more than fashion trends.
Yeah. I was at a conference last week called the Do More Good Conference, and I got to speak on a panel. And then one of the keynote speakers launched in by talking about how love was an important characteristic in the workplace. And I was just like, I've never heard, if I can say this, I hope it's okay. You can cut it if it's not. But I've never heard a man get up in front of a conference and say love is important in your culture. And I was like, right on. Yes, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Was it Marcus Buckingham by chance?
No, Marcus Buckingham though was at the conference. But it was Jay Wilkinson, who is the founder of the Do More Good movement, and Firespring, who was the first certified B Corp in the state of Nebraska.
Wonderful.
And kind of an idol of mine.
Excellent. Exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah. I just always think it's funny when people are like, well, people can take advantage of you if you're being nice to them or something. It's such a cynical view of people. And if you start to treat them the other way, then they absolutely will start to try You'll create
Right.
this thing that you're trying to avoid. Whereas you could just not treat people this way.
And I'm sure that the people who mentored me in the early days of my career, who were like, you have to be tough, I am very sure that they were well-meaning, but you're right. Just the opposite. Just the opposite happens.
Yeah. It does come from good intentions. It just also seems to miss like looking at the results. You treat people
Right.
like they're trying to get away with something, and suddenly you'll start to find people trying to get away with things.
Right. I don't know. How do you guys feel about Simon Sinek since you're kind of in this business? Do you like him or do you not like him?
I'm assuming he's gonna be my future best friend, so we do like him.
All right. So
I have his book "Better Together" right there. Together.
I love that. I see it now on your shelf. So, Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek is one of my favorite books. And I love, if you've read the book, you know, there's this like chart in the book that talks about how the perfect culture has, you know, a culture that produces dopamine and serotonin, and which sounds a little bit weird when you talk about it, but I love that balance of safety and challenge. But I love the idea that if people don't have to invest brain power in being defensive or putting up their protective shields, then they can just like use their brain to do the work, right? And that's why I believe as a leader, you know, and I've evolved to this. I haven't always been this way, but my number one goal is to take care of the people on my team, because I have learned that if I take care of them, they in turn, you know, if I take care of them, we don't have to talk about the quality of the work, because the quality of the work happens. We don't have to talk about taking care of the clients, because that just happens. Our culture is to take care of people, and I am modeling that by taking care of my team.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's interesting because Alex and I have been talking about that quite a bit recently, and we've had our fair or unfair share of situations where we spend way more energy justifying what we're doing and justifying our presence than actually doing it. I'm like, okay, can we get past all of this wasted time and actually get to work and figure things out and provide solutions? Because literally this is a waste of energy, brain energy, time, and it burns people out. Like eventually, like I'll be sick of having to justify what I'm doing and explain everything and walk on eggshells and make sure I don't step on toes. And I'm like, can we all be adult and not kindergartners and realize that nobody is intentionally, hopefully, stepping on anybody's toes? It's literally a team effort and we all have different perspectives. That's it.
That's it, right? It is kind of funny. I mean, I have a good friend who uses the term, you know, humans are fascinating, which usually is her saying, that was a really weird and unfortunate, like she's ruined the word fascinating for me. Humans are fascinating. Like, why are we doing this, right? Life could be easier. Yeah.
So much easier.
We foster a lot of cats, and so at first we had like little kittens, and like that was it. We didn't have like any of the other cats when we just had the kittens that were like abandoned or something. And they're very small, and it's a ton of work to take care of all of them individually. And we occasionally would get offered, well, you know, there's a mom and their cats, but like, God, it's already so much work with like the babies. What if there's like the mom and she's defensive about this and she doesn't want us around? How do we take care of this? But eventually we had a group that had the mom with it. Turns out way easier. You just take care of the mom. She takes care of them and you're done.
Yeah,
it makes me think of
like that. And you
makes me think
are
of the people you're talking about.
Like that, a person who takes care of animals like that, I think that's a good indicator of high character, Alex.
Appreciate that. But I do think it's a good example of like you can take care of people because they'll take care of it. And you're in the advertising industry. I mean, you have to tease out maximum creativity. And how do you possibly do that if people feel like you're standing on their neck? How do you get the right creative answers?
Work very well. Like if you've had to work 50 or 60 hours a week and you're somebody told me this way once, when you're the stories you tell yourself in your head as a creative person, right? Like if you think that what you present is going to be just tromped on, then you're either going to go with something very safe, or you're going to do like a dozen options, and that's a giant waste of time. And so, yeah, it's, you kind of have to, your self-talk has to be, hey, I understand what's happening here. I understand what the client needs to accomplish. I have all the information I need. Here's the best solution. Yeah.
Speaking our love language right now.
Yeah, I think you just spoke directly to our souls on that one.
Yep.
So here's a question for you. Maybe this is the hot seat we've been talking about.
See, Christina,
You just entered the danger zone.
Strategy. I'm going to just keep talking, and then you can't ask me any questions.
There seems to be a misunderstanding, or at least a misalignment on what taking care of people means. In the sense that when you talk to most leaders, they'll say like, yes, my focus is taking care of people. I take care of people. And then you walk into meetings and people are yelled at. Things happen behind closed doors, and it just starts from there, and it goes on and on and on in many different ways. But then when you go back to them, like, well, but I do take care of people. I push them. I motivate them. I care about them. I'm like, so what's missing? Because there's some disconnection there when everybody says that they take care of their people. And yet, given that there's 4.35 million people resigning a month right now, clearly they don't feel taken care of.
No. I think that's a great point. I read this once too. I read that a very high percentage of CEOs feel like their number one differentiator is their people, but a very low percentage of people feel taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. And when I tell people, as a matter of fact, I interviewed a young woman for an open position we have this afternoon. And when she asked me what makes us different, and I explained it's because we take care of people, I'm like, really, this should not be a differentiator in our industry, right? Like, it seems so obvious, but yet it's rare, and it's also hard. Like, sometimes it is hard. Like, sometimes it would be easier just to have a sweatshop, right? Sometimes it would be easier to just bribe people to work on weekends, right? But it's not the right thing to do. Yeah.
It's easier for a very short time, and then you'll run people out.
Yeah.
And it's funny that people are like, we'll say like, oh, we're taking care of the people, like as if there's 4.3 million people every month who are just blissfully happy and just happen to leave their jobs.
Yes.
I feel so taken care of. I thought I'd upend my life.
I'm going to leave. I'm out of here. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what does taking care? Go ahead, Alex.
Nope, that's exactly the question. Go for it.
Yeah, two faces, one brain.
I love you guys.
So, what are some ways that you take care of your people at KidGlov?
I am glad that I think the first thing we did or continue to do that was really right is we actually asked people. We asked them,
shocking,
right? What do you want? And because we were at a time, we did this a few years ago. It was right before the pandemic. And, we'd always leaned into culture, and it's like, all right, what's the next step in our culture? And we put together this survey and, do you want more parties or lunches or, what do you want? And really what we heard from them is we want a great environment where we can do our work, right? We want to work with people we like. We want to work for clients that we care about. And then we want to go home, right? Like, we want to go home and enjoy our families or our hobbies and so forth. So, we stopped. We do have group gatherings, but we cut back on them, right? We cut back on the forced fun things. We We don't have an alcohol cart in our office, which is kind of unusual. A lot of agencies, I think that's a code. If somebody promotes that they've got a bar in-house, it means they want you to work really long hours, right? Because that's the only way you're going to use that bar is if you're there after 5 o'clock or on the weekends.
It means you're gonna need the bar.
It means you're going to need the bar,
next to your
right?
desk.
I mean, we've been known, I'm a believer, you should always have a couple bottles of champagne in the fridge because you
Yes.
might need to break out into spontaneous celebration. But yeah, we asked people what they wanted. We also have a project that I'm very proud of. We call it Creative Nirvana. And because in agencies, you know, we focus on creativity and we have a creative department. We have an account service department, which is part of that project because they're very critical to providing the tools and the things that are needed for creativity. But what that is an all agency initiative where we're continuously working on what is the next thing? What is the next thing? I mean, one thing that kind of bubbled up as we started this project last year was, hey, I'm spending so much time in Zoom meetings that I don't have enough focused time to do my work, right? So we, you know, did some research. We looked at our own data. And so we've now blocked 2 half days during the week as meeting free time. And so people come in on those days and know that I'm going to have that blocked time to do some work. Our people wanted mentoring and development. And so we use a system called catalytic coaching where, you know, it's 3 steps and the leaders listen to their employees. Then the second step is the leaders provide goals and areas of improvement. The third step is the employee writes their own annual performance plan. And then we meet monthly to talk through that plan and how's it going? How can I support you? What can I do? So we're, you know, intentionally mentoring. And then, you know, just continually talking about how can we together as a team improve our craft.
Those
Love
are all
all of that.
fantastic ideas.
Yeah. Can we clone you into all other organizations and then we'll just go on vacation?
I want to clone me because there's so many, like there's so many things I want to do. Like that's my number one thing. Like I am a kind of a restless person, right? So I'm always like, what's the new thing? What's the new thing? And so it's a good thing for me that our COO, first of all, she's a certified meditation and yoga instructor. So she brings the calm to my restless. But she's also a perfectionist. So the two of us balance each other out. Like I'm not allowed to implement new ideas while we're still working on the last round. So
Ooh, I like that.
that's something
That's a good rule.
Yeah, right. But then every once in a while, she has to finish the perfectionism part of her, and we have to move on too. So we're a good balance to each other. Yeah.
Balance is especially important. I mean, you can't do everything from one point of view, which is funny that we talk about that while Christina and I have a single brain and two faces here. But you do need the extra viewpoints, and that's definitely true in creativity. You're creating things, and you also have to hone them and critique them in the right way. Plus, like you're talking about the balance between the CEO pushing and the COO making sure everything is still buckled down, and the CEO making sure we still continue. So what are ways you find are especially important to create that safety, to have that balance? Because that tends to be so crucial.
Yeah. I mean, I bring a couple of rules that I brought from I learned in parenting, right? And I was a no gossip, no bullying, no ridiculing parent, right? And I didn't tolerate that from my kids. I don't tolerate it in the workplace, you know? So it's just not what we do. And I think that's a big part of what creates safety. Like we talk about one of our core values is loyalty, and we define that as we have each other's backs. And I think that having someone's back means that you're there to give them a safe place to fail if that happens, but you're also willing to have that fierce conversation, right? Like sometimes I think the greatest stress is me trying to guess how you're criticizing me but not telling me, right? And that happens a lot in the advertising world, right? Like, and so we actually do a couple times a year, we talk about like, how do you have a fierce conversation? And feedback is a gift. And I know the thing about my job that I hate the most, I hate to tell a creative team like, hey guys, I really think we missed the mark here. And I think we got to go back to the drawing board. But the worst thing would be is if I didn't say that, but then turned the corner and went to everyone else and was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what they did, right? So, you know, I think that's a really, really important part of our culture, like having that feedback.
Makes sense. And if you posed it perfectly, if you have that loyalty and you have the established, hey, we're in this just because we want to be in this together, and that will require tough conversations. Otherwise, yeah, they always say, hey, if there's no conflict, one party's not being honest.
Yeah, that's
there's
right.
no
That's
disagreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when people come to me, I'm not perfect at this, but when people come to me with criticism or hard feedback, I always try to start with thank you. You know, thank you for that. I may not agree on it. I might not be able to act on it to the way that they want, but I appreciate them having the courage to confront me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's practice. So crucial. Yeah. Like it's not the feedback, you know, it's not easy, but it's not the actual message that's the tough part. It's the whether there's honesty and integrity behind it. That's the tough part. I find it. It's, you know, it's wondering, you know, why didn't you tell me sooner and waited until the last second when now it is a big deal? Or why, you know, is this done not in privately, but it's done in public settings or whatever it is. Like, it's not the message itself. It's more about, can I actually trust you now, or can I not trust you? Because when am I going to get sucker punched the next time without knowing it's coming, because there wasn't that upfront, constant and continuous conversation?
Yeah. Yes, that was really well said, Christina.
Oh, thank you. I've been sucker punched a few times.
Yes, once you've been sucker punched a couple of times. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we have people that come to us from other environments, other agencies, and sometimes it takes them a little while to believe that it's okay, right? To believe that it's okay to share their feelings, or that things are, the other shoe's not going to drop on them. Yeah.
I was literally just talking about this the other, so I switched out of this pretty toxic job into one that was very focused on people, very like pretty open, but I did not trust that at all. And it literally took, I think, maybe a year and a half before I looked around. I was like, wait, I think maybe I could trust this. And I still feel like, Christina, I always call them the gremlins, start to crop up every once in a while where you're like, I don't think I trust this. And you have to really investigate, like, is that just because I had bad experiences before, or is there actually something like it seems off here? Yeah.
I get that, you know, because sometimes situations can be kind of syrupy sweet, right? And then you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yeah,
they definitely can. So what are some of the ways you see your people who are feeling taken care of take care of the customers and your clients?
Yeah, I think that, you know, we are really known for feeling a high level of accountability. You know, sometimes even maybe even a project is more like important to us than it is to our clients. Like, you know, really making sure that they're going to achieve their results, or that we're like looking after the details. So I think that's one way that we do it. Oh gosh, Christina, I had another way in my mind and it's just left my mind. Maybe I'll think of it. I'm losing my mind.
So let's just circle back on that. You've also talked about like you saying thank you after you get feedback. Like that takes a lot of training in yourself. Do you find that is a big part of it? I mean, taking care of people, there's a lot of externalizing, a lot of taking care of people, but there has to be a lot of starting with yourself. You have to be able to manage your own emotions and lead yourself there. Have you had experience with that?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of soft training. I mean, I would soft skill training, probably not nearly to the extent that you guys do. I'm sure not nearly to the extent, but we really take a lot of time to focus on, what's creating stress. What are the barriers? We have a couple of people, more of the older millennial generation that tend to be workaholics, right? And they have kind of come to us with already this ingrained nature. And I know this because I have it as well, that, hey, if I'm not the last one here, and if I'm not working at night or over the weekends, I'm not doing my job. And just really even trying to break people of that. Like, why are you doing that? And so I think those are the kinds of things we try to think about or look about. We do training and role playing on having fierce conversations, which I think is an important one. And we talk a lot about building confidence, which I think is a key one as well.
It's okay with you. I'm going to start stealing the phrase "fierce conversations." I think that's one of the better ways of describing it. I love that.
Actually, I stole it from. Actually, I like to. So in our business, we know that words matter, right? And so we don't like to say that we're stealing. We like to say that we're taking inspiration from. But there actually is
that's even better,
book, right? Taking inspiration from words matter. There's actually a book called "Fierce Conversations" that actually has steps to take, like to get yourself ready to have this conversation. Yeah. I think another indicator maybe or indicator and outcome of having a great culture is, empowering everyone on the team to be part of improving it. So, part of our creative Nirvana project is the fact that everyone is involved. Everyone has a voice. And, I don't want to leave people like out on a ledge on their own, but it's like, hey, if you have a problem with something, let's fix it, right? Like if you, feel like this person is not giving you what you need, or, it's too noisy in your workspace, or you don't have enough time to work on a project, then you don't just have to sit there and stew about it. Like let's figure it out together. So I think that's a good thing that I'm very proud of as well. I think the other thing, we have what we call the 2-time rule. And so if we've presented something to a client of ours and they come back to us and they give us feedback that we think is wrong, like it will not be good for them, and that could be from a variety of different things, to changing the headline, to the images, to all kinds of things. We'll go back to them 2 times in the spirit of education, right? Like, tell me more about why you want to make this change. Here's what I think might happen if we, do this or do that. And we go back 2 times because I don't ever want our people to feel like, oh, well, the client said this, so therefore we just have to do that. Because everybody always forgets. At the end of the day, when the campaign launches, everybody always forgets the scenario if you're not achieving results. Right. And so we go back 2 times. And even after the 2 times, if we still, have to do something that feels like it's against our instinct, we never do anything that's immoral or lying, but against our instincts, we still ask our team, you make it the best you can make it. So if that is the situation, you make it the best you can make it. But you've gone back 2 times with love, with the spirit of education to try and change their mind. So I think that principle just empowers everyone to, try and make everything the best it can be.
I like that a lot.
Take that inspiration.
There you go. Take inspiration from that.
I know. Take
2-time rule. Yeah.
So how do you find, or how do you distinguish whether a client is a fit or not a fit?
We used to, at one time, we had a test. Like, it's like, these are the 5 things we want from a client. And we knew it was not very often that you would get all 5, but it's like, hey, if they're low on this thing, they better be great on these other 4, right? So we don't really go through the test anymore because I think we have more of a feel for that. Part of it, though, is the brand that we put out into the world, the fact that our name is KidGlov, the fact that we say we're the people helping the people who change the world, the fact that we talk about love and being a certified B Corp, we generally do not attract mean clients that are just looking for the lowest rate, right? Like, our brand is put out there very, very intentionally. So we tend to attract clients who want to make a difference, who know that their brand is important to their success, who know that they want a balance of strategy and creativity. I mean, we got a button in our logo and you were kind of quirky. So we tend to attract the type of client that is a good fit for us because of how we intentionally put ourselves out there. And I guess you could say that our brand is very authentic to who we are, right? Like, we know who we are. We know what we're good at. We put that out in the world, and we're successful enough at putting that out there in the world that we're able to attract back enough clients to make a go of it.
It's a great example of someone like the long-term, short-term. Like, you can either try and, bribe people to work on the weekends to get something in the short term. You can try and have the biggest net in the world and try and just get everybody and take as many leads as you possibly can, or you can be directed about it. It might take longer, but then you have, rather than, I've been at so many companies where, it gets to a point where there's X amount of customers and now you're suddenly ranking customers. You're like, okay, well, these are the ones that really fit what we need and we can do. And here's the ones that are really detracting. Just we're spending all this kind of time supporting them, whatever. And they have to suddenly now break out that. And now you're spending all of these extra hours trying to decide how to support things that you never could have really supported in the first place. So either you Frankenstein yourself or you wait and
I love that you said that. I love the phrase Frankensteining too, because I know exactly what you mean. And so that's what too, we know that, when we work with nonprofits, social impact movements, purpose-driven businesses, we know how to handle those organizations. So, we're able to go into the situation with a high level of confidence because this is what we do. And so we can present with confidence. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time because also we know what it takes to make a fundraising event work. We are pretty well informed on what it takes to promote behavioral health or healthcare or recycling or different kinds of things like that. So it gives our team confidence. It gives our clients confidence. It makes us more efficient because we're not Frankensteining it every time. We're not in the back Googling how to market XYZ, right? Like we know how to
after
do it.
You sign the contract. Yeah.
Right. If somebody is Googling how to market social impact, they may be ending up on our website actually. So.
Awesome. But I'm sure that we could continue this conversation for days, and we will when you come into town and we go for wine.
I am so looking forward to that. I'm going to put your sommelier skills, Christina, to the test, and I cannot wait.
I'm going to be in the hot seat.
But it'll be so much fun.
Yes,
night will all
it
be
definitely will.
frankincense, so that'll work.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
You might even get me to dance or sing, which is a pretty scary moment.
Perfect. So last couple of questions for you, Lyn. One is, what is your definition of authenticity?
I love that question. And it's a hard question too, right? I mean, honestly, if I'd been more prepared, I would have just looked it up and taken inspiration from the dictionary. But since I didn't, we'll just have to go with what's in my brain. And I think, to me, authenticity is being very comfortable enough in your own skin and in your own situation that you can be exactly who you are, right? There's not that fear of having to pretend or having to act, but you're just exactly who you are.
Love that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Whew, good. I am going to check the dictionary after this. To see how
I have no
close I
idea
am.
what the dictionary definition is. So there you go.
All right. Sounds good.
Doesn't matter. I just turned
Doesn't
frankincense
even
into a
matter.
verb. We're good.
Yes.
Doesn't even matter.
It's not a pass or fail test.
Okay. Whew, that's a relief.
It's not a test at all, actually.
All right.
So the second question is, where can people find you and KidGlov?
Oh, well, thank you.
And you have a podcast too. So
Yes,
All of
thank
these.
you for asking both of those questions. So here's a funny story. When we named ourselves KidGlov, there was already somebody had taken up the URL kidglov.com. And so we had to take the E off of our name in order to get our URL, which is KidGlov.com. So kidglov.com. We're on all the social media. I'm actually super active on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to link to me, I will generally respond unless you try to sell me something in the very first message. And then we do have a podcast, and I am so excited because we are about to launch our 100th interview, right?
Awesome.
So excited about that.
Yes,
and that
congratulations.
that is called Agency for Change, and it is on all the podcast sources, but we talk to people and have them. It's not even about marketing. In most cases, we don't even talk about marketing. We talk about how people are changing the world. So, I mean, I'm so proud the two of you were on Agency for Change, and we talked about great culture, some of the things we talked about today, but that's such a passion project for me. Other people golf and garden. I do podcasts as my hobby, and I think it's a lot of fun.
We can certainly relate to that as a hobby.
Well, thank you so much, Lyn. We really appreciate all your thoughts. And I absolutely, obviously, encourage anybody to reach out. You've got a fantastic mission. It's awesome that you got certified as a B Corp. That's a fantastic goal. We were just joking before the show that everything should be either B Corps or Toxic Corps. You've got your options.
Either a B Corp or a
Or a
T
T
Corp, and T is not good.
Yeah. Tea is not good.
Yeah,
Thank you
guys,
so much.
This has been such a delight. Thank you. And I just love what you guys are doing with Siamo.
Well, thank you. We
Thank
love
you.
what
We
you're
love what you do
doing.
with KidGlov.
We'll probably need to hire you to help us with our marketing and advertising.
I would love that.
Next conversation over wine.
Okay, it's a deal. I'll buy.
Thank you so much, Lyn Wineman, and thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you, everyone.